Hi friends, it's Jim Alfredson here again with the Hammond SK Pro. In this video, we're going to dig into the Monosynth section and see what this puppy can do. So the Monosynth section is brand new to the SK Pro, and it's a very exciting addition, I think, to the line. I like to use Monosynths not only just for lead sounds, but also to augment the bass of my left hand. Sometimes with the Hammond organ, the bass can be a little bit hard to hear for other members in the band because it consists of almost pure sine wave tones with hardly any harmonic content, right? And we can do things to augment this on the Hammond. We can pull out a little bit of the second drawbar, and that helps a little bit. Sometimes I do that if I'm in a room where it's really hard to hear the bass. But what really helps is to add even more harmonics like that of a bass guitar or a synthesizer bass. So I set up this patch, and I just want to show it to you very quickly so you can kind of hear how you can augment your left hand Hammond bass with a monosynth and get kind of a fuller, richer sound. So to start with, I'll just show you the bass sound that I have layered in right now. Okay, and here's the organ bass without that. And I've got some of the third drawbar in here so that we've got some more harmonics in there. So let me play it without the synth bass first, and you can kind of hear what I'm talking about. So. Okay, now let me add a little bit of the synth bass in. So there I think you can hear the deep richness that a monophonic bass can add to your Hammond bass. And I just have it barely filtered in there just a little bit, and it's a very, very rich sound, but without a whole ton of high harmonics. We can open up the filter. And add some more harmonics if we want, but I think that's a really cool sound. And you might have noticed I layered an electric piano on top of the organ too. I've been using that kind of layering since the Groovadelphia days. If you've ever checked out Organismo's record, Groovadelphia, I recorded that on a XK3 and used a Yamaha Motif ES module to layer in an electric piano on top of the organ. I've always loved that sound. And now I can just do it here with one keyboard. It's just awesome. Anyways, I'm kind of wasting time because I'm just having fun here, but let's look at the monophonic synth section and see what we can do with it. So here we are on the monosynth section. There's quite a few knobs and sliders and buttons, but the architecture is very simple. It kind of reminds me of an ARP Odyssey in how it's set up. So let's start right here. We've got our waveform type, and it starts here at the top with duo, which is two waveforms added together. Each waveform can be a different pitch. So we can use this to make those classic fifth leads and stuff like that. Then we have Unison Mode, where every waveform is the same pitch, but they're stacked on top of each other, and we can have up to 6 waveforms stacked on top of each other. Then we have pulse mode, which of course deals with pulse waves, square waves, and pulse width modulation. Sync mode for that classic like Pro 1 Cars type lead sound. FM, and of course this is very simple FM, it's just two sine waves added together, so we can't get super complex FM tones out of it, but it's enough to get some pretty neat sounds. And then noise. And then up here we have the volume, of course a dedicated volume knob for the synth section, just like we have dedicated volume knobs for the other sections. Our octaves, so we can choose what octave it's in very quickly there. It goes down by 2 and up by 2. And then let's start with these knobs. We have Lfo Rate, portamento rate, our filter cutoff, resonance, and envelope generator depth. Over here we have pitch and depth. These affect the second oscillator in the duo mode. So let me open up the filter and I'll show you. Now you see how I'm turning this up and nothing's happening. That's because I need to increase the volume, which is right here. So that's how we turn up the volume of the second waveform. Then we have our pitch and filter envelope. The filter and pitch share an envelope. You can use them at the same time. In other words, this envelope can affect both pitch and filter at the same time, but we don't have separate envelopes for pitch and filter. So usually you'd want to pick one or the other. But it's a standard ADSR envelope, attack, decay, sustain, release. And then we have our amplitude envelope, which again is the standard ADSR, attack, decay, sustain, release for the amplitude or volume of the sound. Now if we go into the menu system, we've got all these options in the menus and a couple more that aren't on the front panel, so let's do that now. So when we press our hold to edit button, which is also the waveform type button, it goes into our oscillator edit page. That's one way to get into the other parameters of the Monosynth section. A second way is to just go to menu and down to synth and press enter. And now we're on the very first submenu, which is our general page. So we have our loudness, which is controlled by our dedicated knob. Have our pitch bend range up and down. Portamento off. What mode, legato, or every single time you hit a key, no matter if you have, separate. Let's turn this up. And there's our rate. That's if we put it on legato, it'll only trigger when we hold notes over. But if I play staccato, it won't trigger. Right? Then our key priority, we can do auto or last, high or low. What that does is if I have it on high and I'm holding a high note and I press a note below, right now I'm pressing a note below, nothing happens. But if I press a note higher, then it triggers again. I tend to like it on auto, and then the EG trigger, that triggers your envelope generator every single time if it's on multi, or just single if you're holding notes. So you see it disappears as I play. Don't mind the camera. This is how close I have to get in order to actually show the screen. And then we have our LFO page. We've got a single LFO in here, and this can be assigned to pitch or filter or amp. And we have a bunch of different waveforms in here. This is kind of cool. So if I turn up my mod wheel, right now it's obviously assigned to vibrato, and we can change the waveform. That's kind of an interesting one, fluctuation. I like that. You can change how it triggers. It can be free running in the background or trigger the beginning of the LFO when you press a key. There's the rate, obviously, and you can have it come in automatically, which is kind of nice. So you could have it set as you hold the note. Then it comes in, which is kind of nice. Okay, and here's where we can assign it to the pitch, filter, and amp, the depth, the mod depth, right here. So that's pretty cool. There's our oscillator page again. Right now we're in duo mode, so you can see there's our oscillator 2 pitch, and we can use the slider to change that, or we can use our knob. All right, but I'm changing it. You don't hear anything because I haven't increased the volume, which is the depth slider. And we're in duo mode, and we can choose different waveforms in duo mode. We can have a square, saw, and square together, or just a sawtooth. So this is kind of neat. There's the square wave. Here's the saw and square. It gives us a lot of flexibility. Let's change to Unison mode. Now you can see we can have a detune amount, and our depth knob over here on the Monosynth section actually now changes how many unisons. There's just one, but it's way out of tune, so let's turn the tuning down, the detuning. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 6. So you can hear we can get a big fat sound pretty easy. And again, it has the same waveforms for Oscillator 1 and 2, and the unison wave can be different as well. That's very cool. Let's go to pulse. Now we got pulse width, and we can modify that with the LFO, which is nice. There's that delay that we had. Let's turn that off so it turns on instantly. Turn off that delay time. All right. Kind of interesting. We can change the pulse width. Very cool. It can also be done by the key. So it gets thinner as it goes down, gets bigger as it goes, or thinner as it goes up, excuse me, and fatter as it goes down. The pulse width changes. That's pulse. Here's sync. Put it on the LFO, and we'll change the LFO to be a lot slower. Interesting sound, huh? And finally, we've got the FM, which is just 2 sine waves again. Got some feedback in here. We can have off, half, or full. We can get some kind of cool FM basses in that, actually, with just 2 sine waves. Operator and carrier, just a two operator FM synth, basically. And then we've got the noise. This is being filtered by the LFO right now. Actually, I don't know what it's doing. Oh, I see what it's doing. So this is really interesting. The noise is being kind of sampled off and on, and as you turn up the sample frequency, it gives us that like R2D2 sound, and then eventually it gets into just pure noise. That's really interesting. I did not know that. I just learned something new. All right, so then we get into the filter. Let's go back to our duo sound. We've got a low pass filter at 12 dB, low pass filter at 24 dB, a high pass at 12, and a high pass at 24. So this is kind of like your standard Moog 4-pole ladder filter sound with resonance. What I like here is the drive level. It can really overdrive the filter and make it sound real crunchy. That's very cool. Then we have our pitch and filter EG. This is controlled by the sliders on the front panel. And that handy little graph kind of shows you exactly what's going on. And then remember, you have your envelope depth knob. So you have to have that up to get the envelope to actually affect the filter or the pitch. Here's your amplitude, just the overall general volume, and whether choosing velocity or not. These are velocity sensitive. So if you have this all the way up and you play soft, it'll be softer. Hard will be harder. It's hard to hear because my filter. Let's get back to a stock sound here. Something simple. There we go. So yes, so if this is turned all the way up, we get velocity. If it's turned all the way down, you don't get any velocity, which is kind of nice for bass sounds. Doesn't matter how hard you hit the key, there's no change in the velocity. And then we've got our amp EG. Again, this is controlled by the sliders on the front panel. And it's got a graphic so it can show you what it's doing. And here's our multi-effects. These are the same as in the other sections. So the first multi-effect has tremolo, wah-wah, ring mod, compressor. The wah-wah can be assigned to touch. It can be assigned to the expression pedal, to an LFO, to an input level. So it's kind of like a Mutron or something, right? So these are kind of neat. And then you've got your overdrive, same overdrive in the other sections. We've covered that before. Multi-effect 2 has the same effects in it as the rest of the sections, so we can put our phaser on if we want. This is kind of neat. Flanger. Chorus. Which of course can make it sound thicker than it is. And delay. There's mono and stereo. Right? And then we have our equalizer for this patch, so we can kind of sculpt it and shape it how we want. So that's the Monosynth section. You can see it's quite powerful and has a lot of options in it. The factory presets are actually quite good. I'm going to go through a couple of those now so you can hear kind of the range of sounds that they've been able to coax out of this thing. Here's a couple that I made very quickly. Here's a lead sound. You can hear how the filter opens up as you hold the note. Here's another lead sound based on that same idea, just different waveforms. Here's that bass sound that I made for the Hammond. It's a nice sound. Here's some of the factory sounds. This is a sine lead. It's just a very simple FM sine wave lead. And I'm not adding that vibrato. That's coming in by itself after the fact. It's a nice piece of programming there. That's cool. The saw lead, this is kind of basic. And this one I think would sound better with some delay on it. So let's do that very quickly. We could just go menu into our synth section, go over to our multi-effect 2, which is where the delays are. Turn that on, turn on delay, right to left. That's cool. All right, continuing on. Here's a fat saw with chorus. I like how some of these have velocity and some do not. Wild chorus. Ooh, that's a weird one. SW Synth 1. I like that one. It's kind of the same as the other one, but with one of the waveforms tuned an octave down. Again, if we didn't like that, we could change our pitch right here. I like that. FM Flute. So you can see these are really nice sounds. They've got some bass sounds in here. There was one especially that I liked. Let me find it. This is a great one that you might recognize. That's why I said it kind of reminds me of an Odyssey. It's got that same kind of setup and architecture of the classic ARP. I just like it a lot. It's like another sine lead. That's really nice. If we turn the portamento off, we can get some video games. You won. So again, I like to layer these with the organ. Put this on the lower manual just like this. Put our split point on, our third organ, and we got... think it's a great addition. I really like it in the organ bass, so I can see myself using it for lead sounds as well, and coming up with some really neat sounds. I've been exploring this the last couple days, and as I said, I've got my little lead sounds that I really like. I think they're pretty expressive. See, now there's a why you would want to have the note priority set so that it only triggers the high, because I'm holding that high note, and yet when I press a chord, it's giving me some lower notes. So let's do that real quick. It won't take long. Go to Menu, Synth, over to our note priority, which is the first page here, and do high. So now we can hold this. Tell me that isn't awesome. That's a lot of fun. So that's the Monosynth section. I'm having a blast with it. I can't wait to explore it more and put it into my music. I think it's going to add a new dimension to the Hammond sound. It's a great addition to the SK Pro line. It adds so much more possibilities to your sound. I hope you can kind of see that and understand how excited I am about it. I really am. I think it's going to be so much fun. One of my plans is to take this board and actually put it on top of my XK5 and not only have another manual for organ stuff, but also use it for the pianos and the electric pianos and the strings and the Monosynth. And it's just, my brain is already going a million miles an hour on how I can integrate this into the rig and get some really cool sounds. Because I used to take out my Mini Moog. I have a Mini Moog Voyager, and I would MIDI that to the Hammond XK5, usually on the bass pedals, sometimes on the left hand, and do some synth bass that way. But the Mini Moog's heavy, it's expensive, and I'm almost worried something's going to happen to it at the gig. Some guy's going to come by and bump it off the stand, or dump his drink in it or something. And it's just so much easier, and it sounds so good. The bass is nice and fat. I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be really cool. So hopefully you learned something in this video. If you liked what you saw, please hit that subscribe button. There's going to be more videos on this coming. I'm going to keep exploring and maybe creating some patches for it, and of course making a tone wheel set for it, which I really need to do. I've got my 54 C2 in the background there. I think that would be a good candidate to try to replicate in this unit here. So hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Keep playing music, and much love to y'all.